Hey, what's up guys? Jay here, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be an unscripted video of my thoughts on the new updates that are coming to Throne and Liberty. Today we're looking at the longbow and the wand updates as well. And basically these are happening on the Korean servers, but supposedly they'll be coming to global soon. So I kind of wanted to briefly go over those and give you guys my quick thoughts. Again, this is kind of unscripted, so it's a little bit different than my normal quick videos that I like to get out to you guys of guides and things like that. But I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of give you guys my perspective on things in the healing world, especially with these new updates coming. And so we don't have an exact date of when this will come. If you guys know the date of when this update will come to the global servers, feel free to shoot that in the comments below. I'd love to hear about that, and so that we can get a little bit more prepared for what's ahead. So basically, this is coming from the Games Lantern website, which shout out to these guys. These guys are awesome for sending out all this stuff. And so they kind of were able to throw a lot of the dev comments here, and then also all of the updates that are coming to the Korean servers, which we can, expect in the coming weeks for us too. So when I was initially going through some research on this topic of, getting the longbow nerfed, I saw a lot of threads and posts that people were basically saying the longbow is nerfed to the ground, and longbow and wand users are basically going to be, out of the game. And so I wanted to really take a look at this and see if that was actually true, to see is the bow and wand actually not going to be viable after this update. And so just to give you guys a bottom line here, I really don't think that this new update will heavily impact bow wand users. I think that it'll just make us more adaptable, and we're going to have to change a little bit of our playstyle versus being able to just spam healing. And once we get into the individual updates, I'll kind of go over that. But first, we're just going to go to the dev comment. The main goals of this weapon rebalance were to improve coordination with party members and to improve underused skills. Along the way, we've made some improvements to weapon compatibility and some overly synergistic areas, which that totally has to do with bow wand. So we'll get into that. So I'm not going to go through all these other ones because we're interested in the healing. So we're going to jump down to the bow and the wand section. We believe that longbow's recovery related performance is overly synergistic when used with wand. We've adjusted some skills to share their cooldowns and tweaked the performance of unlimited skills. So essentially what it sounds like is that bow and wand are just too synergistic with each other. And they designed the game so that every single, combination can be somewhat viable. And it sounds like the bow wand is just a little bit too synergized. And so they're trying to balance that out. And so for the wand, we've added some additional effects to some skills to make them more compatible with close range weapons. So again, they're trying to, improve some of the stuff, which again, down here for wand, improve some of the less usable skills. So they're trying to improve the wand so that it can be used across different weapon combinations, but they're also trying to make it not as synergized with bow, because it was just a little bit too overtuned in a way, and it forced people to almost be like, hey, I have to use bow wand if I want to heal, or at least have some utility in that. And so I think that's kind of their drive here. So now let's go to the actual changes that they made to the specific the bow and the wand. So here we go. So longbow. So the healing touch changed to share the cooldown with wand. Rapid healing, which is called swift healing for us, skill. So new skills now stack better when used on friendly targets, even when another player has healing touch applied. So it sounds like here that, they basically are trying to limit the spam healing that we're able to do, the burst healing in a way, where, you can throw a couple healing touches on people to get them those stacks, but then you're also able to essentially overheal them with that swift healing skill. And so they basically want to, the way I see it is that they want us to become a little bit more efficient and wiser with how we're using our skills versus being able to actively spam them, right? So think of it this way, if you have a friendly is starting to lose health, you kind of have to weigh the odds here of, are they going to take a lot of heavy damage? Then we probably want to not spam our healing touch. We want to save our swift healing for that engagement. Whereas if it's a more passive engagement, you can still use the healing touch, but just be, warned that swift healing won't be available because it'll share the same cooldown as healing touch, which I believe healing touch is cooldown's only like 6-7 seconds, and then if you add cooldown reduction to that, or with the cooldown reduction, it's about 6-7 seconds, and then before that, I think it's like 8 seconds. So really, we're just not going to get our swift healing off right away if we're utilizing the healing touch. But it sounds like the skill is now stacked better when used on friendly targets, even when another player has healing touch applied. So, in a way, they're trying to help out, so they're not completely nerfing it to the ground. Because, as you know, in some of my videos, I talk about, using that healing touch as often as you can so that you can get those stacks applied on your teammates. And then, we always had swift healing to get people up in case they took a lot more damage than we were expecting. So it sounds like they're kind of limiting us on that. I wouldn't say it's like a massive nerf. In a way, I would just say they're trying to balance it. And I totally understand why. I mean, I can go into a PvP arena lobby. The other day, I got 270,000 healing, which is just insane. And a lot of that had to do with spamming the healing touch and then using swift healing on top of that too. And so now we can go down to the purifying touch, which increases the maximum number of stacks that can be cleared when clearing debilitated ailments. So essentially what happens sometimes is, say if someone has like 2 or 3 stacks on them, right? All purifying touch would do is just remove one of those stacks. And so they're basically allowing us to now, okay, if someone is getting like a bleed or a poison or whatever, we can clear that entire stack of 3 versus just bringing the stack from 3 to 2, which I think is a huge buff to us, actually, because it kind of felt bad when someone would have a debuff on them or an ailment or whatever, and then we use Purifying Touch, and all we see is like a little number drop. Now we can see the whole stack disappear, which I think is pretty rewarding for us when we're using Purifying Touch. So this overall, I think, is a buff to the actual Purifying Touch, which is awesome. Now, there is an ability that we had for bow users where basically when we hit below 30% health, we would get this shield that gives us about like 3,000 it's like a 3,000 damage reduced shield, right? Which was huge. I mean, I don't know if you noticed when you're in Arena or you're in GVG or even your PvE dungeons and things like that. Basically, you'd get this shield, which is essentially a get out of jail free card for you too, to get your health back up. Well, now this is on a 60-second cooldown. And so basically for this, they thought that we were a little bit too durable on the field, and so they're trying to help the community out because, like I said, we were a giant raid boss that could never be killed. And so, which, nice for me, right? I could just spam healing, survive, do what I need to do. But now this is kind of reducing our survivability on the field, which goes back to my, earlier principles of always trying to get gear that gives us more survivability. So you're looking at ranged, melee, magic endurance, getting your strength up as much as you can so that you can survive all of these different CCs, stuns, and things like that. And so it might feel a little bad because you're used to getting that shield every time you hit below 30% health. I know it's like a small percentage chance, but it would still happen, right? I think it was like a 7 or 8% chance that you would get this shield. But I mean, that's still almost 10%. 10% of the time you hit below 30%, you're getting this 3K shield, which is just crazy for Arena. Really, it felt really good for GVG because, that you could survive a little bit longer, but now they're reducing that by 60 seconds. And so now we can kind of move down to, we'll pass the staff here and we'll go down to the wand. So wand clay salvation, disable debuffs. Talent will disable one type regardless of stacks instead of one stack. This will disable all incendiary, poison, etc. So again, this kind of goes back. This is a really good thing. This is a really good buff to us on Clay Salvation, because say you're in Cave of Destruction and you're fighting the boss and all of a sudden you get 9 stacks on you, you know, and you use Clay Salvation. Well, that goes from 9 to 8. Feels kind of bad, right? It feels like it didn't do anything. And so it sounds like for this, we'll be able to remove the entire poison stack, which is really nice, because like I said, it would kind of feel bad. It was almost like, why even bring Clay Salvation if it's only going to drop 1 stack instead of the whole thing? So I think that this is definitely a buff to wand for sure. And then also, if you're running this this talent, so. And then for Time of Retribution, added 20% shield block chance reduction to the Burning Time talent. So essentially, if you use this, and this, again, for the Korean servers, this is Time of Retribution. For us, it's time for punishment, or Time of Punishment. And basically, when we use that, now we can add a 20% shield block chance reduction to the Burning Time talent. So if you're actually using that on a teammate, which, let me look up Time for Punishment, Throne of Liberty here. We can pull this up really quick. So essentially, if we use this on a teammate, which I believe, let me see if I can pull up. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Enchanting Time right here, right? So that's for a teammate, right? But this update that they have here has to do with the Burning Time talent. So basically, Burning Time here, if we click that, we'll look at what it actually does. And it has a 90% chance to apply a weaken, curse, deal damage, mana decreases. Great stuff, cool. So if you run this, it sounds like they're adding a little bit more viability and versatility. So now you have a 20% shield block chance reduction to the Burning Time talent. So it gives it a little bit more, durability for yourself, because this seemed like a very offensive capability here. But if we apply that, we can also get a 20% a block reduction, which is pretty nice too. So if you want to go kind of a more hybrid damage route, this would be a pretty good one because it gives you some survivability. So then we also have Haze of Evil, which again, this on the Korean server, that's what it's called. But for us, this is Karmic Haze. And so basically they fixed an issue where propagation would ignore probability and always apply. So essentially, if, adjusted to ignore shield defense chance when propagating. So essentially what this means is, you get a curse stack on someone, and no matter what, Karmic Haze would always apply. Like it would have no chance to miss. And so now they're kind of giving it the ability to miss a little bit. And it was based off of damage reduction and hit chance and all of that. And so now they're making it so that it's possible for Karmic Haze to actually not work. And so how this kind of plays out in the PvP world is a lot of people would be doing, the sleep bomb, curse bomb, everything like that, utilizing Karmic Haze. This will actually give a chance to miss, which could be really big, because it kind of felt bad a lot of the time when no matter what, if you slept someone, you were going to sleep about 5, 6, 7 people with that. So, which definitely is a nerf for the wand users, but I don't really see it as a nerf to the healing side of things, more of like the paladin, like SNS with wand, or dagger wand guys that jump in and get a sleep bomb off. So, but if you're a bow wand user and you like to use your sleeps, just be warned that, sometimes you might have a little bit chance of missing that Karmic Haze on people, which again could be a little bit of a debuff for us as well. So then Calamity Ray. So this is again on the Korean servers. This is called Calamity Ray. For us, it's called Ray of Disaster. This is a buff to us. If the target dies when the effect is active, it is granted once more to targets within 10 meters around them. And so expand target use perk bonus, range increase from 5 to 10 meters, which is great. And then the movement speed reduction perk value increase from 15 to 30%. So if you're using Ray of Disaster, especially for clearing mobs, or anything like that, just know that, this is a buff to you. Essentially, when one of your targets dies, then it'll actually proc and go to another one. So it kind of has this chain reaction effect, which hopefully I'm going to come out with a build that actually utilizes this in PvP. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, the rapid healing. Again, swift healing for us. The change to share cooldown with the longbow and healing touch skills. So we kind of talked about this earlier, but it sounds like, and again, I'll try to look at some footage of how this actually works. But if you use the healing touch, then your swift healing is going to go on cooldown as well. And so basically they wanted to make sure that you weren't able to spam healing all the time. And so, so basically I think with this, right, you have to be a little bit careful and you just have to manage your abilities a little bit better, or more efficiently, because you can't just spam healing touch all the time, because then you won't have your big swift heals, for when someone takes a lot of damage. And that's pretty much it for the buffs and the debuffs and the nerfs and the, buffs and nerfs for us too. And so basically I just kind of want to give you guys my thought process with that. And do I really think it's going to be game breaking? And I really don't. So the bottom line up front here is that yes, there were some changes, but I don't think that they were the most massive nerfs that people think that they are. I think that, the change is actually good for the overall healing community because it allows people to use different weapons to try healing, instead of like, I have to use bow and wand if I want to be an effective healer. I think honestly, if we even scroll down a little bit here to the cane, which is staff for us on the global servers, if you look at all of these actually added a lot of buffs to staff. I mean, a couple nerfs, but really it was a lot of buffs. So to me, what this patch looks like is it's actually promoting our staff wand users in a way, because it's giving a lot more damage. And then it's also, the changes with wand actually synergize pretty well and make staff wand even more viable as a healer, because now you're able to dish out a little bit more damage and you're using these debuffs and you're getting more of burning time, which again is used for a lot of staff wand builds. So I think honestly this patch, yes, it might have reduced bow wand efficiency, but it didn't make us completely unviable to the point where we have to change classes. So for me, I'm still going to be running the bow wand because I still think it's going to be the most potent healer that you can get in this game. But I think in a way they're promoting, people to use different healing capabilities. So like I said, with the staff wand, which early on, staff wand was the only way you could really be a healer. Now they're kind of bringing that back with a little bit more damage for you and a little bit more ability to burn targets with the wand skill. So for me, my final thoughts on this, yes, longbow did get a little bit of a buff, a little bit of a nerf, because they saw that it was too synergistic with the wand, right? And so this is the biggest change here. If we're going to highlight the biggest change, healing touch with wand, swift healing skill, they share the same cooldown, right? And so again, that's only a couple seconds, which could be, life or death for some people, but it just forces us to manage our skills a little bit more efficiently as we're going through, our cycles of healing, right? And so at the beginning, I'm still going to be using that healing touch on people to give them that proc, and then save my swift healing for when someone's taking a lot more damage than I'm expecting, and trying to get them back to full health. So I don't think it's game breaking. I I think it feels bad a little bit, but honestly, like I think it's better for the game itself. I don't think that, you know, that these are necessarily bad changes. I think it'll overall help the entire community out, the whole healing community, and then also people that are trying to, you know, take us out, because essentially, you know, we've kind of become a raid boss, you know, in especially a 3v3 arena, where people try to kill us and we're just unkillable. I mean, if you build everything correctly, then you'll be good to go. So again, going back to what I was talking about with, you know, is bow wand completely useless now? Absolutely not. I still think we're 100% viable. We just have to be a little bit more careful with how we use our skills, and then this will actually cause us to play a little bit more cautious, but not to the point where we can't use any of our abilities, right? So they really only changed a few of our abilities, a few of our burst healing and sustained healing. And so basically we just have to find that balance. Do we want to have more sustained healing, or do we want to save that for the more burst healing, you know, with swift healing here? And so really, I think that if you're still a bow wand healer, that you're going to be just fine. It's just going to cause us to be a little bit more adaptable to these changes and play a little bit different, right? It's not going to, you know, now we have to actually play a little bit more smart or more intelligently with our positioning, right? In a 3v3 arena, and you can't just stand in the middle of the map now and let everyone collapse on you while your DPS kills them. Now you have to figure out, okay, where can I position better, where I can heal people, but not become a target for the enemy. So ultimately, yes, they did nerf us a little bit, so I'm not denying that at all. But I don't think it's game breaking. I think this is a decent change to allow people to use, you know, bow and the wand on different weapon combinations to kind of promote that healing. Again, I really do think that now this is a huge buff overall to staff wand users. I think this gives them the ability, yes, to do a little bit more damage, but you have that coupled with the time of retribution burning time talent, which I know happens a lot on the staff wand. And so I think that promoted this overall promoted the staff wand users. So yeah, guys, that's kind of my take on this. I think that once the update comes to us, I'll be able to give more of my thoughts on it after using it and seeing, you know, if we need to adjust some of our skills and some of our masteries. Well, maybe not the masteries, but really just our skills and our specs. And then I'll be able to post a video highlighting some of these changes and letting you guys know what I'm kind of doing to help you know, guide the healing community a little bit. You know, I'm no expert in this. I've only been playing on the global server. I never played on KR. And so I'm just learning as I go. But I hope that this conversation kind of gave you guys my thoughts on the whole deal to see, is bow wand still viable? And yes, it's still going to be viable, guys. Like, it's still going to be the best healer in the game because they didn't delete, you know, our skills. They just changed them around a little bit. And so, yeah, they nerfed some of the skills, but they didn't get rid of them. So you're still going to have the most healing potential, even in comparison to staff wand users, but you just have to be a little bit more cautious on how you use your skills, you know, if you want to go for that burst or sustained healing. So anyway, guys, that wraps up this video. I hope this helped a little bit. I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking about this. If you guys think the bow wand is completely dead, if you think it's still going to be viable, I guess a lot of this will have to be determined by watching some of the KR healers to see how they handle it and to see, you know, they kind of get the first jab at these changes, and we'll see how the community reacts to these. But I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the support. The channel is growing massively, which is just awesome to see. And it just shows me that there are tons of healers out there, and we want to get as many healers in the game as possible. I mean, some of these guilds out here, they are only getting healers. So if you guys want to become the best healer you can, keep subscribed to this channel. Keep notifications on if you can. Leave comments. I read all of them, and I like to make sure to give you guys the content that you need. I know a lot of people have been asking for a staff wand build, and so I'm slowly but surely working on that. Right now, I'm kind of focused on the bow wand, but I really want to get you guys a staff wand video out there, so at least to, you know, add to the healing community overall, so I'm not just focused on bow wand. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video, guys. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.